So anyway, finding focus. So what we try to do, next slide, is what are the activities that are so crucial to your conference mission that failure to perform them with excellence would lead to further decline? That was the question we tried to answer 9 years ago when we reorganized the Missouri Conference. And I was in this question. What is the answer to that question? What are the things that we've got to do right, or if we don't do them right, we will not only continue our decline, which Missouri has declined for 40 years, we will accelerate decline, which is where most companies are at right now. We're bordering into the accelerate decline time if we don't get some things right. We concluded, it could be wrong, we concluded it was two things. Go to the next slide. It was congregational excellence and clergy excellence. That if we wanted to do social mission justice, you can't do it without congregations. If you want to have a social witness in Washington, D.C., you can't do it without vital congregations. If you want to have a vital witness in your state capital, you can't do it if you don't have congregations. I mean, people are screaming at us that we're not doing enough social witnessing in Missouri. You know, when the population of Methodists in Missouri is 2%, and we go to Jeff City, our capital, and tell them what we think, you know what they do to us?
You laugh.
Laugh. We don't even get an appointment. They don't want to see us. Why? We're not here. We don't mean nothing. We don't have enough people to matter. I don't know if you know this, politicians don't give a rep unless you have votes. At least in Missouri, that's how it works. We don't have any. United Methodist Church sent a letter to George Bush protesting a war. He didn't open it. They sent one to Harry Truman. He called in 3 bishops and had a meeting. He was so worried about the letter that came from the Methodist Church. Why? Well, in Harry Truman's time, we were about 25% of the population. Votes? Sorry. Congregations. If we want to do the things we say we want to do in the future that we love to do as United Methodists, you're going to be doing less and less of it if you don't have congregations. And that's where we're at. We've lost our strength to actually do the things we want to do. 2, friends, I don't know if you know this, you do not have excellent, competent congregations without excellent, competent clergy leadership. Appreciate the lady, if you're a lady in the room, love you. But you tell me, how well does your church work with a crappy pastor? Is that not a word you all use up here? I don't know. You said you wanted more vile pastors. You got one right here. I could get some other words, but they're not any better. And friends, I don't try to be mean. All of our pastors I've met are nice, moral people, but they're just sometimes not very good.
You need to be a little more direct.
Well, try to step it up. Well, here's the deal. I mean, I love I'm one of them. But friends, it doesn't work with folks who don't have the skill set. And I'm tired of saying to my brother who's in a little church as a layman to say, Bobby, my name's Bobby from home, Bobby, they're going to ever send us a non-goofy pastor? And I had to confess and say, probably not. He hasn't been in church in 10 years because he said, I'm tired of it. I just need a regular person. I just want somebody I can listen to. He gave up. Gave up. That's what's happening to us. So friends, nothing wrong with the folks we got, and they might have worked, maybe it worked at a different time. But it is not working in our time if you actually want to reach normal people. Whatever that means in your area, because it means something different everywhere. Because my brother's not normal. But anyway, all right, what is a lever? A lever helps you prise something up. I'm a farm boy, prise it up. So what are the levers that help us do things in the conference that nobody else can do? That's why the conference works. What are the things you got to do that nobody else can do? So let's jump to the first lever. First lever, starting new churches. Now, I don't care how you start them. If you don't have all these are going to be in the same boat. Do not watch the model that we use in Missouri. Ask the question, how are you doing it? If you think for a moment in the Minnesota Conference that you can reverse the trends here without starting new congregations, you have lost your minds. It will not work. Young people are attracted to young people. Y'all know that? Sorry. You know, we are having to tell clergy, including myself, anybody over 50, whatever size church you're in, you just served your biggest church. We have a new policy in the cabinet that says we're putting young people in over their head. Well, that's great if you're young. If you're not, you don't feel good. Because that means every man over 50, which are mostly men, or we're having to look at them, including me, to say, sorry, your next step is down. Because we're taking this young kid, man or woman, and putting them there. Because young people don't, I mean, that's a strategy, friends. It's a hard strategy because I'm one of them now. But it's a reality that, you know, when I was 30, I planted a new church, and guess what? I got 500 people who were around 30. When I left at 40, I had a church that looked around 40. We have to get, friends, I don't know if you know, we have a shortage in the United Methodist Church of young, more diverse people. Yeah. That's our shortage. Now, I'm not against old. I'm getting to be one of them. I'm not against getting old people. But actually, that's not our problem. It's young. So, starting congregations, now, when I started my congregations 30 years ago, there was one way to do it. Buy a piece of property, throw out somebody that didn't know what they're doing, wish them well, see them next year. Hope you make it. Y'all probably didn't do it like that, but that's how we did it. And gave you a whole 24 hours to think about whether you ought to do it. And off we went. And actually, we started one like that every other year or so. And Bishop Handy, W.T. Handy, started 6 in 18 months and changed the whole course of the Missouri Conference. The Missouri Conference did not change because of Robert Stage. I hate to break his bubble. It started because W.T. Handy in 1990 planted 6 young people, all of us in our 20s and 30s, to 6 different locations, unheard of in Missouri, all in the same year, and said, go plant churches. We get no training, no nothing. Phones for you. Remember that, Dan? Oh yeah, we all used it. And this is the difference in church planting today. We all used it, and it worked. Only difference was how much demographics did you have. Here's the difference in church planting today that it just drives us nuts. You can find something that works here in this place here and gets 150, 200 people. I hope, because anything less than that is not sustainable. And you can say, well, obviously that worked. Let's go to the next town and do it again. It has no idea whether it'll work because it's non-reduplicatable today. So instead of one model of church planting, my question to you all, you need 15 models. You need 15 ideas. You need all kinds of things. And here's the trick of church planting. Hold them accountable. Fail fast. So if you're not to 100 in worship in Missouri in a year, you're done. I have the power to close them anytime I want. I'm very gifted, very glad that Bishop State just says it's yours, you close them. Now sometimes I have to pay them shower in the next year, but we still close them. We fail fast. That's been the best thing we've learned, because when I took the office, we had multiple churches been on the conference, what's the best word to say? The conference money train for 5-10 years, getting all kinds of money and running 80 people a Sunday. Never going to be self-sufficient. We cut them all off. Boom! So we start. I have 19 church projects in Missouri going right now. I'm probably going to close 2 this year. They've only been going 8 months. Drives everybody nuts. Except the people in our conferences who look at that, who are business leaders, and say, finally, somebody holds us accountable. I think you need to try a zillion things, and don't be afraid to fail, and don't punish your folks who fail. It's okay to fail in a new church plant. Give them another church. Doesn't mean they're not a great pastor. They may be great somewhere else. But friends, starting a new church, what did you say? You're the planner here, Jim? Scariest thing you've ever done, right? You can do everything right and still fail. Now, it's hard work. It is the hardest thing I've ever seen in my life. It gets harder every single day. But that doesn't mean you ought not to tell them, stop if it's not working. Try something else. That's the difference. I mean, there's not one model. There's hundreds of models, hundreds of ways. It's very particular, and be willing to stop and hold people accountable for it. Kathy, am I not like this to my planners, like you see right here? I mean, I step on their toe, right? And they're about half scared of me, right? I just don't do any nonsense. But if you stand up in Missouri 4, nobody ever wants to cut my budget. I have the largest budget in the Missouri Conference. In fact, last year somebody got up to conference and said, do we need to raise your budget, Bob? You haven't taken a raise in your budget in 8 years. I said, no, I find other money. I raise $1 million a year outside of the system. I think apportionments are dead, so I do it somewhere else. Why do people want to raise the money? Because they see integrity in the system. The willingness to say no, the willingness to try things, and we want to give our planners everything possible so that they can succeed. I need them to succeed. They'll tell you, I call every 6 weeks and say, how are you? Is me kidding? By illusion of care, because what I worry about is, how many do you have? They all know that. I tell them up front, I'm going to call you every 6 weeks. I won't pretend to really care, but really tell me how many do you have. And they laugh about it. It's good, fun, and Kathy and I have great relationships with my planners, do I not? But it's a healthy relationship where they know they're going to be held accountable. If you're not willing to hold new church plants accountable, don't do it. You're wasting money. And you know, I still remember my grandmother puts $1 in the plate, or what I heard her dollar for her. She worked pretty hard for that. And if I'm going to set it afire at the conference, I'd like to know I at least tried and held them accountable. And by the way, this is the experimental department of your conference. You're going to set money afire here. But do it quickly. You just have to learn that's where we're experimenting with stuff. Without that lever, the rest of it's not going to work. Lever 2. If that's the only lever you have, is starting new churches. You can't start enough new churches to overcome the decline of your conference. You cannot do it, you don't have the money. The second lever is around clergy peer learning. Friends, just as we keep saying to our clergy, go out and get a win. And most of our clergy can do better than they're doing. I'm convinced that 10% of our clergy, we just need to stay out of their way. I mean, they're just gifted people who are gifted in leadership, and they need to be leading the rest of us. They don't need our help. In fact, the best thing we do is get out of their way and get the constraints off of them. We have 10 to 20% of our clergy that no matter what we do, they can't do it. It's a different time, it's a different era. They're nice people, they just don't have the skill set. And we're struggling with that set of folks. Does it mean they're bad? Do not hear this. I don't mean they're bad people. I mean they don't have the skill set. That's all I mean by that. I've got 2 of my very best friends that are in that category that just don't have the skill set to do what's required today. But by the way, what did I say? Maybe 20% here, Tim, that's 30. That means there's 70% of our clergy in the middle who I believe can take a step forward. But they're not going to do it. We're not going to do it as clergy by ourselves. I mean, we've gone to 10,000 workshops like this, took a lot of notes and went home, and nothing happened. In fact, I've been convinced that United Methodists think if they've gone to a workshop and read a book, they think they've done it. Application seems to be our problem. Lovett Weems says, I think it's Lovett Weems says, the clergy peer learning together is better, the worst clergy peer learning together is better than the very best workshop you can go to. Think about that. Even if it's kind of, my favorite word, crappy, as peer learning, you will get clergy to do more about it than if they go to the very best high-priced workshop. So the question of your conference is, how are you doing clergy peer learning? And friends, even there, you got to be willing to hold them accountable. In Missouri, we've always had clusters. They were wine and cheese parties. It was clergy who came together and whined about their appointment, and then they had some food. Wine and cheese parties. And you got to be careful. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about clergy groups, whatever you call them, on purpose. With a purpose. With an outcome. With the new information. I know we all think everybody has the new information, but my experience is they may have it, they haven't figured out how to apply it. Not that they're dumb, we're not dumb, it's applying new information in an old system is very difficult. And without peer learning, coaching, and help, friends, it's almost nearly impossible. All right. Third lever, congregational intervention. This is probably the hardest one of the group. quite frankly, and this is what I spend a lot of time on. And you can spend too much time on it. And I think we've not done a good job in Missouri of clarifying who should we intervene with, who should we not. Does that make sense? Because we've intervened when we're doing the HCI, Healthy Church Initiative process, which is just our made-up name, which, by the way, is maturing in Missouri. We've done 180 of these. There's only about 200. We have 850 churches in Missouri. 630 of them are under 100 worship. 300 some of them are under 50, and 200 some of them are under 25 in worship. So that means there's about 250 congregations over 100 worship, and 40 of those are over 400 worship. 10 of those are over 1,000, 2 of them over 2,000. That's the group that we've been intervening in, because Levers-Rev did the study, is once you fall below the 100 mark, it's very difficult to get back over it. So in Missouri, we were looking at a history level that just, first of all, do your work here. We looked at our history, how many churches that 10 years ago used to be, we have a lot of county seat churches. Does that make sense up here? You all have county seats, you have county, so we have county seat churches that really the bread and butter Methodism in Missouri. They were running 300 a Sunday. They paid their apportionments without question. They took whatever pastor we sent them without question. They had kind of okay ministries, and those churches in the last 20 years have gone from 350, 300, 250, 200, and a lot of our county seat churches are 150, and they're falling off the cliff. They're going from full to part-time. They've cut all their staff. They got big buildings that need to have 300 people in them, because if you have 100, it crushes you. You all have that up here? That's where we decided to go. Because the more of those that fall over, the more trouble we're in. The great big ones don't really need us right now, and the little bitty ones don't want you. But they've made that perfectly clear to us in Missouri. You know, there are some of them, and you never know which ones are going to revive, but most of them just want to be left alone, so we've decided that's fine. And we have some clergy that want to be left alone, so we're making some appointments there. Works fine. It's a good match. It's made somewhere. You know, we have some dysfunctional clergy, dysfunctional churches. Aha! That works good. Let that alone. So we've been going in that middle group, that 250. That's where most of your work now. You have to decide in Minnesota what's your. We talked about that. What's your middle? Because the middle is different in every conference. And our middle is at 100 to 250. That's our middle, and that's where we are bleeding. We cannot turn the attendance around, even with all the new church plants, even with the big church, because we lose so many people in this middle. They're losing them at 20 a year, or 30. You times that times 50 churches, you can't catch up with it. So this is where we run our stuff into. You have to decide where to run your stuff into. We're doing some things for small churches. We have some luck between 60 and 80 in worship attendance. By the way, I'm talking about worship attendance, not membership. Membership does not matter. Get that through your head. Membership that tells you where you were. Attendance tells you where you are. Baptizing children tell you where you're going to be. So we entered that. So we've done just think we've done 180 of those 250 churches. So we're maturing, and we're trying to figure out what the next step is. Because see, it's not about HCI. It's about how are you going to keep transforming and helping your congregation. Do we learn anything in HCI? Has been this. I think we may be ready to bunch a church to maybe make disciples.
What was that?
Yeah. I think maybe through HCI I know this, we changed the conversation. That's the number one thing we did with HCI in the conference. 2, I think maybe we readied some churches to maybe be ready to make disciples. Maybe. See, friends, we haven't really made new disciples in 100 years. All we've done is connect other Christians to our churches. Or dropped out Christians, or Christians who just disconnected and came in. That's fine. Even my new church, that's mostly what it did. I mean, I'm honest with you. I'd say if you go to Church of Resurrection, friends, well over 60, 70% of the people are restored people. There's a ministry there, and that's a good thing. But we're all vying for the folks that used to be Christians. I don't know if you know this, but most of the folks in our world, they never were. And that's a group nobody's figured out, even the non-denominations. You think they have not. They just took your people you wish you had. That's all they did. I'm happy because otherwise they just lost them. So this, we call it intervention here. We've called it consulting because intervention scares Methodists. So we're calling it consult. We're now calling it, we're on the last one, we're calling it a teaching moment for some of our churches because the consult's too scary, so now we're having teaching moments. Whatever you need to call it. Here's my question to you. What is your system for transformation? And it can't just be one-dimensional either. Because without a system, when we set a goal in Missouri to transform 30 churches a year, if we did that for 10 years, that would be 300 churches. Guess what? That's that group we're talking about. We think, in fact, the HCI process just had an 8-year study, and the churches over 800 in worship grew by 3% as a group. That's been in the process, churches between 500 and 1,000 grew by 4%. Churches between 100 and 400 grew by 2.5%. We feel really good about that. That's over 8 years. It's been very slow. Now, and that accounts even for all the crashes. We have multiple places that didn't go right. And we've had several of them with the other direction. What is your system for intervention? That's the deal. Without it, you cannot plant your way out of this. You cannot keep sending clergy who are learning new things into old perfunctory systems where they get eaten alive by the laity. Laity deserve better clergy than we're sending them, but they also, clergy need to deserve some heat shields, some assistance, some backup, DSs. Any DSs in the room? Yeah. No. We don't need any more weak DSs. Yeah. Because no more weak DSs. Because here's the deal, friends. I can plant churches without the DSs. Y'all don't matter. Sorry. I cannot do transformation without DSs. Because our church people have learned what to do when something begins to happen that they don't like. You know what it is, DS, don't you? Push the eject button to the DS. And the minute the DS weaks in the knees and backs up on any transformation, you're over. In fact, you may have just set it back 20 years. I've never seen any transformation that didn't hurt. And DSs, you're in the front line of this because you're the one they call. They call DSs, they call my office, they don't call the codes, they call the DS and complain. Is that how it works up there? That's how it works in Missouri. And so our DSs that are really strong about this are just like, yeah, got it, thanks, click. You know, on the other, and it's hard when you're DS. I tell our clergy, keep your DS informed all the time because it's really hard in my office at least to discern the difference between that's an idiot that's calling or our pastor just did stupid.
Well, we don't do stupid here, so that's...
We're from the South, and we do manage stupid pretty regularly. And so, it is really hard from a distance, is it not, to discern, if you don't know what's going on, to discern, is this person legitimately looking for a place to appeal legitimate concern, or do I just have an idiot on the phone who just doesn't want anything different to happen? From 30,000 feet, that phone call is very hard to sort out if you don't know what's going on. It's very easy to sort out if you're up to speed with everything. Most of our DSs are not up to speed because there's a lot of things on the DS's desk. Lots of stuff. And so it's easy to be lost in that. And so what is your system to help that? Our clergy need heat shields. They need people that walk with them. They need people that will go in and help say things to their congregations that if they said them, they couldn't pastor on Monday. But they need to be said. And you got to have a lot of backbone to do transformation. And again, you have to be willing to stop when it doesn't work, because it could not work. I mean, we deserve to know when to stop. It takes a lot of backbone. But what are your congregational strategies? Number 4, cultivating clergy excellence. This for us has been trying to relook at everything that goes into how do we get the clergy we get. Why are we where we're at? What is our recruitment process? What is our training process? What are the things, I got tired of everybody saying, I did it myself. One of those seminaries would just produce a better clergy, it'd all be better, right? And I've used that excuse, I've said that, and we have St. Paul's, I don't think we have St. Paul's, but God, if St. Paul's was just not crummy, we'd have better pastors. Or whatever seminary I was upset with at the time. Well, here's the truth. We decided in our place, look, that's out of our control. I learned a long time ago, influence what you can influence, don't worry about the other. We decided we don't have any influence over that. I thought the bishop had some influence over that. I learned very quickly, you have no influence whatsoever. Am I right? Yep. You can go sit on a board and get voted down every time, just with everybody else. So, no power. So, what we decided in Missouri is, well, let's quit whining about it. Well, let's just decide we got to retrain, and we're going to start training right off the bat the clergy to come out of seminary in the Missouri way. We just went, okay, we just shut up about the seminaries. What do we need our people to know? What are the techniques we want them to learn? What are the systems we need to put in place to, at least when you get here, we'll do everything in our power in the next 2 or 3 years to get them on the right chance of a right path. I mean, I do not, in my office, it sounds like I'm hard on clergy. It doesn't help my office or my world to have clergy that can't do the job. I mean, it just takes up all kinds of time. I'm on the cabinet in Missouri, on the appointed cabinet. It just takes up all kinds of time. We'd be far better off to invest in some of that time up front and see if we can't give our clergy every tool possible so they can be fruitful and successful. Now, they're not all going to be Adam Hamiltons, and they don't need to be. But my experience is that 70% in the middle, leadership is a learned trait. It is not a gift. You can learn. Now, you have to want to, which seems to be a problem in some of our places. You have to want to learn. You have to be willing to listen. The number one thing happens, Dan, in Missouri for churches that fail in transformation and new churches is our pastors uncoachable. Uncoachable. They know everything. As they have 80 people on Sunday. Or 15. They know, and that's true in transformation. I get a pastor that assures me they know everything. Really? Your church has been declining 10 a year for 15 years. But they know everything. Well, uncoachable. They have to be, you have to have a want to. You know, you have to want to learn new things and do things. And friends, leadership's not a gift. Personality is a gift. Maybe some of us it's not. Get that. It's my mother's fault. I came with natural DNA. It's real hard to get away from it. I'm a fire guy. I've been a fire chief, so you're just going to be loud some days. But I'll tell you what, if you're the same leader you were at 19 and you're 50, something's wrong. And we have a lot of folks that are the same leader today that they were 15 years ago and wonder why it's not working. Well, friends, just by what I just said would tell you, leadership is not a gift, it's not a trait, it is a learned behavior. So we can do things to influence that. Now, are they going to be, wildly successful? Most people know, but they could do better. By the way, at least in our state, if I could just get half the churches to do better, we win.
40%.
Even 40%, just do better.
All the conferences.
Go.
All of the annual conferences that are growing in North America, United Methodism, have 40% of their churches growing. Less than 40%, they're in decline. Over 40% or right at 40%, they're growing.
So in Missouri, out of 9 years, we've had 5 years up and 4 years down. So we're doing this, trying to, but it's that. What do you say? We don't need everybody to win. That's why we decided, when people don't want to do it, don't make it on. I mean, it's just ugly anyway. We run on a volunteer system. You got your hand up, we'll help you. You don't want help, we're not coming. But don't complain to us. Yes, you know what? We got churches send young clergy. We send them and then they kill them. They got buyer's remorse. That's what happened with our camping program. Our camp director, 20 years retired, and they said, let's get somebody new with some new ideas. He came, he's got new ideas. As soon as we said, let's do the new ideas, we've had a revolt. My God, you're going to do camping differently? I thought you wanted to hire a guy that was young. He's young, but he's 28, and wants to do new things. We did, but not this. Have you heard this before? At your local church? Well, okay, so I said to somebody, we have two choices. We either fire the new guy and go back to the old deal, or why don't we give the new guy a chance? Right? Isn't that the deal? I mean, it's very hard without people coming along beside clergy to help them. Do not send clergy into bad deals if you're not going to come along beside them and help them. I spend, Kathy, it's just not true, a great deal of my time in Missouri, come along beside clergy and help them fight the battle. Would you agree?
I agree.
That's what I do. Bishop Sages would say that. I'm a fireman. That's what I do. Because without it, they die 1,000 deaths. And it's not fair. Now, I've also fought a lot of battles for the laity to say we need competent clergy. Not fair to laity to keep sending non-competent clergy and then wonder why it's failed. I mean, I look at some churches and I look at the list of clergy they've had, and I think, only of God is it still standing. Because if you look at the non-competent clergy they have, no wonder it's where it's at. We've got to stop that. Now, we don't even have the resources to stop it at the moment, but we got to know it and address it. And that's what the clergy excellence is all about, top to bottom, all the way to the end. Number 5. I'm out of time, Bishop. Okay, as long as you're fine, I'm fine. You are going to tell my boss I did the whole thing, right?
You did.
No, I actually skipped a bunch too. Aligning budgets and resources. Friends, if you're going to do the previous things I just said, this is the hardest one. Because the annual conference goes in 25 different directions. I mean, it really does. I'll never forget the first day Bishop Nazy was on the job. He says he left his office in the building and went down and talked to all 35 employees in the conference office. He asked 3 questions. Who do you think you work for? Who do you report to? And what is your purpose? When he got back to his office, he said he sat down in full depression. Not one single person said, I work for the bishop. They all reported to a different committee, not a single committee, all a different committee, and when they stated their purpose, most of them didn't know. Well, it's just going like this. In 100 different directions. Friends, I just want to tell you, I mean, I was the first person he brought into the office. God love him. Took him 6 months to talk me into it because I didn't want nothing to do with conference. And see, this is what happens in conferences. You're highly competent pastors who grow things want nothing to do with the conference. I don't want to. The only thing I dealt with was the congregation development stuff. It was fun. It was my deal, and I did the rest of it. I actually had only been in the new building they had one time. I was the third highest enforcement paying church they had. I paid my check and walked away, holding my nose. Honestly. Because what happens to competent leaders, they check out of dysfunctional systems. Right? I paid my tax, and they left me alone. So here I am, opening the door, and I'm in charge. I didn't even like this place. It was really spooky. And we fired 15 people of the 135 in the first 2 days. They were just not competent in the conference office. And they didn't want to change nothing, of course. And so we get through a whole lot of changing about who you report to, what is your purpose. Now we have 5 directors. Every team reports to a director. The 5 directors report to the bishop. I don't report to the DS, I report to the bishop. Same with the other directors. And of the 5, we decided what were the 2 most important things we decided if this were not correct, we wouldn't make it? You don't say nothing. Now, Bishop, they probably think I just treated you like that. Do I not treat my own bishop the same way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I treated you that way when you were in West Ohio, did I not? So is that he's in a different jurisdiction and has no bearing on me whatsoever. What was I talking about? 2 most important things were what? Clergy excellence, congregation excellence. So of the 5 directors, the other 3 are told, help those 2. Your task is to help set the table so these 2 can do their job. I'm successful because there's 3 other people in the conference office that are highly competent people. Without them, I would look really stupid. And they know that if I call the conference treasurer, who's our director of administration, and say, I need help in St. Luke's Church, could you go over and intervene on the finances? You know what he does? Absolutely. Skipped a CFNA meeting to go intervene at the congregation. Why? Because in Missouri, what's an alignment issue here? Which is more important, be it the CFNA meeting or go to the congregation?
CFA.
Well, this is a CFA thing.
He's the chair.
Gary, you may not have heard this before, you'd be wrong. See the difference? We say no, they can do their job. That director needs to go support that congregation. That's alignment. Now, I'm just going to tell you, we didn't start aligned. I was telling the bishop here, aligned, you don't know about your tires, my tires need aligning all the time. And we did not start aligned. In fact, it was a bloody fight to get people to think, they thought like you just said, oh, he should be at the, be at the committee. No, be at the congregation. See, our number one rule in the conference offices, congregation, go to the congregation. In fact, when we put on the other 4 directors, here's the first question. Are you willing to be in a hotel this year 45 times and 75 times a year, travel 40,000 miles, and not ever be in the office? And we've had people say, no, then you're not our person. If you're going to be a director, you do not stay in the office, you are in the field. You are field agents in the churches, and you get together with Bob and Karen, and you figure out how you help them do those 2 critical things. And I'm telling you, stand here, without those 3 people, mission, service, and justice. Jeff is always asking me on new churches, hey, I've got some extra BIM teams, where I need to send them. Do I need to send them to a new church start? You help me do a building? Absolutely, here, and here. And Nate Bernanke, the Director of Finance Administration, is always stopping in my office saying, what I need to do to help? Is there a church I need to be in? What I need to be doing? Let's realign this, and this to get some more money to fix that. We've almost broke the conference trustees because they were used to getting what little money we got from church sales to cover their own budget, and now they're giving all to my office to fix churches that were restarting in old buildings. And every time I see the CFA guy, he just wants to kill me. He says, you're ruining us. But keep doing it. Keep doing it, because what's the priority? Congregations or clergy leadership. They do the same thing with Karen. We've aligned it all around it. Friends, that was a merciful thing. It took a long time. I've been there for 8 years. We're still working at how to get a budget aligned to it. Every budget's under the 5 directors. The 5 directors meet every 2 weeks with the bishop. 2 of us are on the cabinet, the appointed cabinet, because we decided that if you're going to actually affect these 2 things, you're going to have to help make the appointments. And nobody was doing that. And I just want to tell you, the first year I was on the cabinet, I got treated really bad. DAS, watch out. You get a little club mentality going. And those DSs didn't think anybody else ought to be in here with them. They actually said that out loud. And finally somebody said to the bishop, Bishop, what do you want? Well, I'd really like to have the whole team here, if you don't mind. Hear the difference? Of course, they said, oh, okay, I guess we'll have the whole team here. But they were not happy. I mean, they won't let me sit in the same seat each time. Still. They have assigned seating, and I don't. But anyway, that may be a personal issue. Personal
Minnesota, nobody has an assigned seat in Minnesota.
Okay, well, we don't officially have them, but apparently we have them. It's kind of like going to a small congregation where there's no assigned seating. It's obvious there is assigned seating. So anyway, I did even sit by the bishop for a while, and he told me to move. And I talked to him too much. Anyway, friends, this is hard work because we're so splintered, and you'll have people yell at you because it feels like you're ignoring other values we have. You'll get social justice and ministries hard at you thinking you don't value them. And right now what we're saying in Missouri is we have got to get these 2 going or we're not going to have that. We want to have that. I want that myself. But without vital congregations, we're in this moment in time. We have got to rebuild the base so we can go do the things we need to be doing. I mean, my team is planning a church in Haiti. I don't think that's inside the box rules. In fact, the bishop said, don't tell him, I was not to tell him anything more.
It's starting.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen all through the connection. I got a call from a pastor in Florida, George Esvito,
Oh, yeah, George.
who said, we'd like to help start a church in the Dakotas Conference. I have an apostolic pastor who's open to moving. The only thing we ask is that if you start it with this pastor, that it be imprinted with our DNA. I said, come on.
Good for you. We have a request of Matt Biosky to a church in Wisconsin wants him to come and do it, and we're trying to figure it out. Here's the deal about that stuff, and my bishop's been very good about, we don't know how that's going to work, but we'll figure it out. You really have to go with that mentality, because here's what conferences are mostly set up to do right here. No. Everything is almost set up to say no. No, 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 you can't do that. What we've tried to say is yes. And we'll figure it out. It's hard, because there's a lot of rules. The bishop will tell you, the annual conference has more rules placed on it by general church than any single organization. The church, local church is far more freer to make changes than that conference is. So it works within constraints. Next one, we'll get wrapped up here. Sixth one. All right, you got to figure out how to technically have elegant government systems. You can tell I didn't write that because I can't say it. You need better systems. That's how I'd say it. Just that whole, your whole stream of how you put things together. I mean, our budgets are put together down in the Missouri Conference by the 5 directors and presented to CFNA instead of having 35 different committees apply for their budgets, all vie for their piece of the puzzle, their slice of the pie, and all stake out their reasons why they ought to. We are mandated by CFNA, you can't raise the budget. We haven't raised the budget in Missouri except for one time in 8 years. And first year we were in office, the 5 of us, we slashed the budget by $2.9 million. Because one of our principles was we need to get resources back in the local church. We do not need it at the conference. And so our apportionments now are ranging 10 to 13% of the typical budget of an church. It was at 20, 25% of a church. And it was just killing our churches. It was killing the big churches. And they're growing churches. So you've got to get systems that flow better. I'll let you look at that. And last one is number 7. We're out of time. You got to reconfigure your conference time. I'm talking about the session. Probably the most influential impact on Bishop Stacey, he won't say it, but I'll say it for him, was Paul Borden. Came to the cabinet one time, and Paul's a little forward, and talking, and Bishop, anybody met Paul Borden? Makes me look patient.
It's true.
It's true. I don't know how he says what he says and gets away with it. He wouldn't in our tribe. But anyway, Bishop Stacey asked him, well, how do you run your conference? And he said, well, we have 12 minutes of business and everything else is learning. And the bishop says, oh, well, you probably don't meet as long as we do. We meet for 4 days. He said, no, we meet for 3 days. Well, what do you do? Well, we have learning stuff. I mean to tell you, that's that Bishop Stacey in motion, as you know. To think, well, what would it look like if your annual conference was 12 minutes of business, the celebrations we need to celebrate through worship services, and the rest was learning. Rather than what was in my lifetime, business, resolutions, business, worship services, business. And people left the annual conference thinking this was a business meeting. Last year, the last 5 years of the conference, last year, we had so many people want to come to our annual conference, we had to turn them away. Because we opened up the general sessions to anybody, and we got fire marshal, got in trouble with fire marshal, we had too many people. We worked up our workshops, too many people. We had to turn people, can you imagine this? We had to turn people away from our annual conference because they wanted to come. Now that was way different than what I was doing when I went to conference, only wanting to shoot myself. It was so bad. Let's go play golf. I don't play golf. I don't know why people play golf. I don't get why you chase a little ball around outside. If it's on fire and you can't do it fast, I don't do it. So, I ride motorcycles, race Mustangs, and get on boats. We have just changed that whole genre to a teaching event. And if you go back and look at John Wesley, really Francis Asbury, friends, we didn't gather in conference to have business. It was 90% learning who are we, whose are we, what's our identity, and quite frankly, handed out sermons to the bishop, to the supervisor. It was learning. And they conducted some business. You hear me? Some business. We flipped it clear around in our time and made it a business meeting. So we decided, let's flip it back and make it a learning event that has some business. And so, I don't know, last year we didn't have a single resolution. On the year of general conference, we had 2 resolutions. We sent them to committee. We just didn't deal with it. People didn't, we're just not doing it anymore. We're letting a team of people work on it. They can actually go do something about it. Most of the resolutions we got at the Missouri Conference, you look at what they said, and there was not a thing about it the Missouri Conference could do. In fact, we passed the rule. If we can't do anything about it as a resolution, we're not taking it. That we can actually go do something about it. Because we're not just going to pass resolutions anymore if we can't do something about it ourselves. Well, I'd cut it down. And just sending a letter to the governor isn't doing something about it. A lot of weeks the governor doesn't read. We done. We've done enough to read and read. The governor in Missouri is Methodist. He didn't read. He didn't care what we say. We've got enough folks to care. So we got to go do something about it. And so we let a team of people do something about it. Figure it out. Does that make sense? God has changed the whole conference. It just changed it.